Well, hello everyone, Lock Garden Bird Lady here, coming to you guys with a quick video. And I just wanted to do a video today to talk about some of the products that I use to organically get rid of pests in my vegetable garden. So let's just jump right into it. I'm not even cutting that out. Alright, so one of the things that you know about having a vegetable garden is we are not the only creatures or species that like to eat from our vegetable garden, of course. So you will kind of find that when you use less chemicals in your vegetable garden that you do have more pests in your vegetable garden. So there are some ways to combat the pests that you have in your vegetable garden. My number one go-to is preventative in the beginning, and that is by companion planting. And companion planting is interplanting different kind of plants and other vegetables to kind of help each other out, to ward off different pests where they won't even make that vegetable appetizing to it. So number one is to prevent pests from even wanting to come to that crop anyway. But when companion planting doesn't work, then there are some things that you can do to organically get rid of pests in your garden. So my first go-to is, of course, if you've been following me for a while, you know I absolutely love BT, and that is Bacillus thuringiensis. And I have done like 2 videos on this product here. I absolutely love it. There are several brands of it. There is a BT out there that is chemical made. I like this brand here because it is unrealistic, it is organic. And what BT is it is a natural occurring bacteria that is found in the soil. And it actually, I know I'm sweating, babe. It is actually found in the soil, and it affects only caterpillars. So you can spray this. It does not affect bees. It does not even affect earthworms. So I really love BT, and I said that this is my number one because I do grow, especially in the spring and the fall, I do grow a lot of brassicas and a lot of leafy greens, and so I do have problems with moths eating on them. So I do grow like a lot of, when I say brassicas, I do grow like a lot of broccoli and cauliflower. I do grow a lot of cabbage, collards, kale. I don't really have problems with worms on my lettuce. I never had that problem, but my kale and my collards and mustard, they really take a hit. And my broccoli, oh my god, takes a really bad hit. But I always just, once I see that white caterpillar, I just go ahead and I start spraying. And so one way to prevent it is to interplant it with garlic or onions, and that is supposed to ward off the moth that lays the eggs. So far that hasn't worked for me. I don't know if I haven't planted enough of them, I don't know, but I'm gonna try that again this year. So I do a separate video on that and let you know if that actually works this year. In the past it hasn't worked for me. And another one that I like when it comes to chewing insects is, this will work for caterpillars as well, and this is actually, the ingredient that you want to look for is spinosad. And so you won't see just the name of the product as spinosad, it is actually the ingredient. And again, I always go with the relisted here, and this is the Monterey Garden Insect Spray, and this does work on caterpillars as well. Not only caterpillars, but any kind of feeding insects, caterpillars, thrips, leaf miners, and it has a whole list. So any kind of feeding insects or munching insects, it does work. And I usually use this on when I have pickle worms, and I spray this and BT on my squash to kind of ward off the squash vine borer. What I do with this is, when with the squash vine borer is really bad in my area, and I had completely stopped growing squash. But this year my husband, he really loves squash, one of his favorite vegetables. So I grew squash this year, and I did really well with this method that I used. So the squash vine borer, it only was able to take out one squash plant. So and I didn't even know that it was a squash vine board in it. I was actually in the midst of pulling up all my squash, and I pulled up one and it actually broke in half, and I saw there was a vine board in it, but it was still producing, but I was getting ready to, so it had just got in it when the squash was stopping to make anyway. So this year the squash vine board did not decimate my squash plant like it had done every single year, because what I did was, not only did I use um I sprinkled diatomaceous earth, and I'll show you that in a minute, on the stem, but I also sprayed spinosad and BT on the stem. So what that does is if the diatomaceous earth does not work on the adult moth, then if the caterpillar, the larvae, hatches and it munches and it ingests the BT or the spinosad, it will actually kill the larvae. So that's how I was able to produce squash all year round, all season long, without the squash vine board. So I know there were eggs on my, and I put the link to my video that I did of how I was able to combat the squash vine board. So this was the first year ever that I did this method, and I was able to produce squash all year long. But the squash vine board, I know it was out here. I saw the eggs, I saw the moth, but this was the first year that I was able to defeat it, and thanks to BT, spinosad, and diatomaceous earth. And the one thing about spinosad that I do want to note is it does harm bees. If a bee, it doesn't harm bees if it's dry. If you spray it on a flower and it in the wet, spinosad gets on a bee gets on a wet flower with spinosad on it, it will kill a bee. So you want to do this in the evening, when the bees are not out. So just to note that. And another one here that I really like is neem oil. I love neem oil. Neem oil is I really only use neem oil for aphids. I do actually spray it as well when I get when I start getting the powdery mildew on my cucumbers and my squash. So I start spraying it then on my cucumbers and squash. But I really only spray it for aphids when the aphids are really bad. Like I showed you the aphids on my how they were on the purple hub peas. So I only really spray it up for aphids. So that's what but it has a lot of different uses. It is a fungicide, an insecticide, and a miticide. So it's for powdery mildew, aphids, and spider mites. But I only use it for aphids and the powdery mildew, and it does really well with stopping the powdery mildew, and it does really well with killing the aphids. So like I said, it'll knock out a aphid population in like overnight when you spray it. So another one that I really like for aphids is if I don't have neem oil, I will use this. And I like this as well for the powdery mildew. This is called Be Safe. And again, this one is OMRI listed as well. And it kills aphids, whiteflies, spider mites, fungus gnats, thrips, mealybugs, scale insects, and more. And it's like a lot on there. And it also controls powdery mildew, downy mildew, black spot, greasy spot, and more as listed. And so you can use it on your fruits, vegetables, flowers, ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. So Be Safe is really good. So I use that for my aphids, and I had a problem with thrips on my cucumbers, and it wiped out my thrips on my cucumbers. This was the only thing that I found to get rid of the thrips that I had on my cucumbers. And I think I did a video on thrips. I will put a link to that video that I had on the thrips. What are you doing, Casper? I will put a link to that video on the thrips. And I'm going really fast because I actually have to clock in for work, shower and clock in for work. And I want to plant some more white acre peas before I do that. So yeah, this is really good, and it's called Be Safe, and of course it is Be Safe. And so the last one that I have here for you, so this is not the one that I typically use. I usually use the food grade one because I do drink it, and I actually give it to my dogs because it does help with intestinal parasites. So that I do feed it to my dogs. and it has a lot of qualities. It has a lot of qualities to help with us as well. It even helps with your hair. And I would do a separate video on all the qualities that Diatomaceous Earth has on it. So I usually use the food grade one, and that one is actually in the house, but this is the one that I had in the shed that I've been using outside. So I figured since I had it, I might as well use it. But this actually is like a ground up shells that you find in the bottom of the ocean. And when it gets on insects, it doesn't harm us, but when it gets on insects, it kind of shreds them and dries them out. It's just a butterfly, baby. It kind of shreds them and dries them out, and it also will just cut them up. And they can take it to their, stop, Casper, you cannot eat my shoe. Come here. How about we get back up here? How about we get back up here? You can chew on the chair. There we go. There you go, sweet boy. So where was I? So it can actually get in, like if you have bed bugs or fleas or roaches or something like that, it can actually get on roaches or whatever, and it can take it back to the nest, and it can spread it upon the nest or whatever as well. But using it in the garden, I haven't had to use it in the house, but using it in the garden, it actually what I would do with my squash is I would sprinkle it on my squash to kind of keep the moth from getting on my squash. So that was another way that I was able to combat the squash vine borer. But you can sprinkle it on your plants, and it will kill caterpillars. It will kill anything that it comes in contact with. Alright, so my apologies. Casper just did not like that butterfly flying over his head. He was having a fit, so I had to wait for it to fly away. But anyway, I think I was talking about bees. So this will kill bees, so you just don't want to spray it on anything that is flowering. When I sprayed it on the squash, I only sprayed it on the squash stems, not the flowers. It was very close to the bottom of the stems. You don't want to spray it on, I'm sorry, not spray, well, you can spray it, yeah, with the little duster, but you don't want to sprinkle it. And you also, I usually just do the stems of my squash. That's really the only thing that I've used it on, is just my squash stems. And because if it gets on bees, it may not kill them right then. They can actually, the same thing with roaches, they can actually take it back to their hive, and it can actually kill the bees in the hive as well, because once it gets on them, it dries them out and it kills them, and it starts to shred them up. So yeah, so these are the top products that I use to get pests out of my garden. I can't think, yeah, these are it. And the only other thing that I use that is not out here, it is a form of spinosad. It is the Captain Jack dead bug. It is a form of spinosad, and it is also unrelisted. Monterey's is the spinosad that I really like, but Captain Jack dead bug, they do sell that locally. So if I can't get Monterey Jack in the Monterey's in a timely manner, I will go to Home Depot or Lowe's and pick up Captain Jack, but Monterey's is the one that I really like. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So this is how I fight pests in my garden. And thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you have any more tips on any other organic ways that you fight pests in your garden, just let me know, and I will try to do a separate video on Diatomaceous Earth, because it is amazing, and I will let you know why I drink it. But thank you so much, guys, for watching, and as usual, toodaloo, bye bye.